Item 8C is an item that we've been discussing for quite a length of time, especially at the council level. This is the redrawing of the ward lines. Appropriate to do so every 10 years after the census allows us the opportunity to look at the demographic shifts in our city and how the city may have changed over the last 10 years. We've held an open meeting, and I know the council has had a lot of input into how the lines are drawn. I would say fundamentally we haven't changed the lines a whole lot. The lines look very similar. I think Ward 1 kind of returned to the way it looked 10 years ago with Surrey Hills returning to Ward 1 and bringing in some of the rural areas. Ward 8 has expanded so greatly in population.
Ward 8 became a donor ward this time.
Yeah, Ward 8 is hemorrhaging people in this drive. And it'll be interesting to see how it changes over the next 10 years. Is there anyone here in the audience who would like to speak on the redistricting process or the numbers that are presented to us today? All right, how about comments from council? Are we ready to go on this?
Mayor, I'd move approval, but I'd like to make a couple of comments in that.
We'll let you do that. All right, Pat. Pete wants to make a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. Now, Pete, what do you want to say?
First of all, I want to say that I appreciate the work that went into redrafting the lines. It was to some extent, it was a relatively easy process in that despite the fact there have been a lot of people, the wards have changed in terms of their relative sizes. The process, it wasn't that difficult in order to try to keep them as compact as possible with as little finagling really with the process. It was easy. It was relatively easy to do that. I do think that we really did not give an adequate look at the 10 ward thing. I wanted to move approval because I wanted to be solid. We show some solidarity with the rest of the council. This is what the council's decided. There weren't votes to do the 10 ward, but I would like to ask you to appoint a small committee. The charter permits us to redraw the ward lines at any time. We don't have to wait 10 years. We can do it 2 years from now or 3 years from now. I would like to see us take a long, hard look at just whether or not going to 10 wards makes sense. I think it's a talk worth having, and I think we ought to take a look at it.
I agree with Councilman White, with one exception, the minor exception. I think we ought to look at additional wards. If 10 is the right number, then we could settle on 10. If 12 is the right number, we could settle on it. Conceivably, we can go backwards if this group is totally independent and unbiased from the starting point. And I think they should be. But I want to support the idea of Councilman White that if we're going to do something like this, we need to do it very deliberately to try to anticipate some of the unintended consequences that always seem to flow from our actions up here. I know we can't look at them all, but if we step back and take a good hard look at this from a lot of different standpoints, the cost of it, how is it going to impact our citizens? Is it positive? Do we need to do it? Is there a reason for doing it? And I think it's something that we need to study, but it needs to be a very deliberate, unbiased study to start with.
Okay. One of the reasons I'd like to ask for it now is that we have fresh data now. It will be, if we go forward a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, it'll be much more difficult to get as accurate, as fresh a data as we have today from the census. So this would be a good time to look at it in a longer period. And it really takes only a process similar to the one we went through, a couple of public hearings, and I mean, if we come to a conclusion, it's not, we don't have to go to a vote of the people, it's not extra outside the charter. It's not been done, but the charter provides for the possibility of doing that. I think it may have been done sometime in the past at mid.
Yeah, well, when we went from 4 to 8, I guess I'd like to know what the circumstances were then.
We actually went from 4 to 8 wards, but we didn't change the number of councilmen. We just went from 4 to 8 wards. We had 4.
I see there were 2 council people representing 4 wards.
And actually, they weren't even balanced geographically at that time. I mean, by population, they were just kind of a 4-quadrant kind of a thing, and there were 2 people elected from each ward. The one-man, one-vote stuff didn't really come alive until about 1960, a little after that.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'd be glad to figure out a way we can address it more thoroughly and discuss it at the council level. Yes, Skip?
Yeah, I would like to commend Councilman White in reference to his leadership of addressing that issue. And the more and more we looked at it, each time I looked at the proposed boundaries, it really becomes more representative of what we have in Oklahoma City as a whole. And it was interesting that this morning, the Daily Oklahoman made a very, good comment about the fact of us discussing, the different wards of going to 10 and reflected back historically when Mayor Humphrey was here of some of the plans that he addressed during that period of time to be more inclusive of the total balance of the population in Oklahoma City. So, I think this is something, and I said that the same thing when we had the public hearing, that it's not going to go away. And I think as policymakers and leaders for this city, we need to be out in the forefront to look at this issue and address it as it is. And it's the reality of the population, it's the reality of the culture, it's the reality of the demographics of Oklahoma City as a whole. And I would like to see, before I leave, at some point in time on this earth, that this city council looks to some degree like that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the redistricting process? Are we ready to vote? All right, sounds like we're good to go. Cast your votes. Passed unanimously.